Greetings once again, family, and welcome. The South African elections have failed to produce an outright winner, with the ANC ending at 40% of the vote and being the highest, followed by the DA, the MK, then the EFF. We have seen that out of the election, somebody was supposed to be getting above 50%, but it did not happen that way, which causes them now to end up following the constitutional protocol, which says that they have to enter into a coalition. But the coalition is becoming thorny. The coalition is becoming an issue because it has to be bringing up forces that do not agree. This is not an easy task. To bring people that don't agree to one place is never easy. And they bring their different ideas and they are forced to agree. There is no one who can say, I will not tolerate any other person because I will do my things on my own. Because nobody will have the mandate to run South Africa as long as they do not have a 50% majority. They will definitely need to have somebody that comes with their percentage, join up together with them, and then they can be able to govern. So at this juncture, it is still very, very tricky what really is going to transpire when different parties are going to come together to make a coalition, and then they will have to make a choice for a president. So South Africa must begin to be warming up for a possible Mogoeng Mogoeng presidency. This is what Dr. Walter Mzembi is saying. And I don't know how they are going to come up with this, but I think I do agree with what Dr. Mzembi says. If we look at his tweet and something that he has mentioned, very, very important what he has mentioned here. Definitely, it's a very valid point that he is bringing in, because a lot needs to be done. A lot needs to be done. So Dr. Mzembi here is saying this is South Africa's moment to reinvent the Mandela Rainbow Nation of 1994, but it will need the ultra wisdom of the four parties trailing the ANC, namely DA, MK, EFF, IFP, and others, to agree on a non-contentious president from outside their parties and consign ANC to opposition. It will also need the magnanimity of the ANC itself. Failing to form government alone is a loss. The vice presidency and the distribution of key cabinet positions would be shared among themselves, creating a coalition of parties to the next election. Doing a coalition led by ANC has happened before in Zimbabwe 2008. It only leads to the recovery of the ANC and not the country. Sitting on opposition benches will recalibrate and sober up the ANC's genuinely to the Freedom Charter and connect to the aspirations of the people once again. So who could be an appropriate president under the circumstances? A retired Chief Justice of impeccable record, perhaps a Mogoeng Mogoeng of sorts. South Africa will need genuine healing to reset to a promise of hope and prosperity, not just for itself, but for the region. Right, this is it. You know, I definitely do agree with quite a lot of the assertion of Dr. Mzembi here, because you see the contention that is there, every party would be willing to have their candidate, their presidential candidate on. I think you have seen what Fikile Mbalula has already said. He has come out guns blazing and attacking all those opposition parties that are coming with the demands of the removal of Cyril Ramaphosa from presidents. And he demanded, and he said that if you come with such demands, then you don't fit. We are not going to talk to you. The president of the ANC remains Cyril Ramaphosa. So you see, that is where the problem is, because he can say that, fine, he can say that as a politician, but still he does not have the mandate to run the country until he agrees with a certain party. So which means probably they'll be looking for a party that could easily, you know, warm up to the continuity of the presidency of Cyril Ramaphosa. But what we are saying is, from the point that Dr. Mzembi is giving here, whereby these parties could have looked for a neutral individual like Mogoeng Mogoeng. Mogoeng Mogoeng has been the Chief Justice of South Africa, and he retired. And this is the gentleman that at one point the MK were eyeing. And it looks like they did not eventually get to do it. But he remains a very formidable force that could be a very, staunch candidate that could really lead this country without fights from all the parties. So if all parties would say, okay, we are looking for a neutral guy who will come and lead us, and all of us will just come there, and then probably we can vote for a vice president from our parties, then that could assist so that everyone continues sitting out in terms of the leadership in government. Everyone will get the time to really, study what they went wrong, what they did wrong, and why they are here, especially the ANC. They have to be looking at the mistakes that they've done and accept mistakes, and they have to look into the mistakes and fix the mistakes. And the good thing that I want to commend them is that they accepted defeat while we still have our problem with our ZANU-PF guys, but they accepted defeat. But this is the beginning of, introspection, where they need to look into themselves to say, guys, we did wrong here and there and there. Why are South African people coming up to deny us after we have been the ruling party for all these years? And only now we are falling down with about 71 MPs that have lost their jobs right in ANC. That's a big number for your own information. So they really need to sit down, to restructure, to reconsider, and if they can have a neutral president, that would be good for South Africa. I totally agree with Dr. Mzembi. That would help, because the contentions that are already there are, everyone is pushing for their own candidate. They want their candidate to be the one in front. But this definitely is going to cause a lot of derailment in the talks, in the preparations. Because all that we want to see is, we want to see a working South Africa. We want to see South Africa beginning to work. We want to see everyone going back, people entering offices and start to implement policies, especially policies that have to do with us and ZANU-PF, because we are waiting to hear those that are coming into the coalition, how they are going to help now in putting in place very stringent measures of dealing with the ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF definitely needs to be dealt with. So any party that is coming in, whether it can be the MK, it can be the DA, EFF, or whatever, they've all spoken against the relationship of ANC and ZANU-PF, which means one way or the other, whichever way, left or right, up or down, still ZANU-PF is in trouble, because there is no party, opposition party, that will ever come into the coalition that has not been lambasting ZANU-PF and even calling for greater things like freezing of their assets, like even putting them on economic sanctions or coming from South Africa. So we are watching to see what is going to be happening. But we saw Mogoeng Mogoeng, of course, declaring that the Lord told him that he was going to be president of South Africa. But he said also he does not know when it is going to happen and how it is going to happen. Could this be the time? Could this be the moment of the Mogoeng Mogoeng? Could this be what God had told him? Possibly, or possibly not. But if it is, it will be a good thing for South Africa. I want to tell you, because this man is a praying man, is a prayerful man, is a man of God. If South Africa could have a president of this nature, I'm telling you, it will be a great blessing for the nation of South Africa. So let's continue to watch, family. I have about 21 people watching on the show, and I only have Namo Zenyika who greeted Chatufa. From where we come from in Zimbabwe, we greet each other. That's what I know, our people. We know that not Mamka say, Masura say, Lichona Njani, Livuka Njani. That's what we do. That's our culture. It's in our blood. But it's so surprising that are we losing our culture of greeting? Because I started by greeting you. Greet me too in your comments there, so that I can know that at least I'm talking to people. It's a live show and we need to interact. So this is what we are looking at, family. We are looking at the possibility of the president of Mogoeng Mogoeng. And if this happens, it will be kudos for the political parties in South Africa. It will also be an advantage to the people of South Africa. And then, of course, the rot, the corruption, and the evil that is happening with ZANU-PF, I don't see it prospering. I don't see it going far, because when we have sober people, sober minds that are leading South Africa as a nation, we are definitely going to be having a better approach to what ZANU-PF is doing to the Zimbabwean people. So it is good news. Actually, we are still watching. There's still quite a lot of exciting news that will be coming from South Africa. So for some time, we'll be giving you updates on South Africa, because we know, I think by now, we've spoken so much. You really know and understand the importance of South Africa to us. why we can't run away from talking about it now, because there is a lot that means that is in line with what we are fighting for. The freedom of the Zimbabwean people is definitely going to come. Grace Banda, Gogo Boya, thank you so much. And Namo Zenika, thank you for greeting me, for appreciating the show. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. The others, I asked them to greet me. They refused, but it is well. They can continue listening. But we will be crossing over to the main channel, Chatufa Television Production. Remember, the 7:30 bulletin is coming. 7:30 bulletin is coming. We are having an issue, a story that we are going to be talking about, and I'm going to be putting the banner very, very soon. You are going to see it, the story that we are having on our 7:30 banner on the main channel, Chatufa Television Production. Thank you so much for having me on the show and for supporting the gospel of the freedom of Zimbabwean people. We are saying freedom is coming, God is in it, and definitely we are going to have our Zimbabwe very soon in our own hands, in our control, and we will prosper. Thank you, family, for joining me on the show. Remain blessed.